Hello students, this is Mr. Andrade. Today I'm going to teach you how to solve two-step equations using the distributive property. So let's go ahead and start. Solve two-step equations. An equation like 2 times w plus 36 equals 114 is in the form p times x plus q equals r. It contains two factors, p and x plus q. So this is one factor and this is another factor, and is considered a two-step equation. Solve these equations using the properties of equality. Okay, so once again, a lot of the stuff you're already familiar with, and you're familiar, so we're just putting a lot of these things together. So let's go ahead and let's do an example right away. On this one it says, solve 3 times x plus 5 equals 45. Method 1. Solve using a model. Maybe with the model you'll understand this a little better. So this thing says that everything has to equal 45. So if you make a model like this one here, that means that the whole bar itself is going to equal 45. Now 45, and then this case you can see it as 3 groups of whatever this is. So 3 groups of that, so then you're going to break this 45 into 3 equal pieces of that. Yes? So basically, draw a bar diagram. From the diagram, you can see that x plus 5, this part, is equal to 45 divided by 3. So this divided into 3 equal parts, because you had 3 groups, that will give you x plus 5. Now, here, 45 divided by 3, that's 15. That means that this whole block right here, it's worth 15. That means that this block is also worth 15, and this block is also worth 15. As you can see, 15, 15, and 15 gives 15, 15, and 15 gives you 45. So x is equal to 15 minus 5, or 10. So then, if this group is 15, and x plus 5 has to equal 15. So that means what number plus 5 gives you 15? 10. So x has to be 10. X has to be 10. X has to be 10. X has to be 10 in order for this to be true. 10 plus 5 is 15. 10 plus 5 is 15. 10 plus 5 is 15. All right. So let's go do it. Let's do it algebraically now. Go ahead and pause the video and examine this really well, because basically it takes you back to the part of undoing things. In this case, you saw that 45 got divided by 3. So 45 divided by 3, basically all this is going to be divided by 3. That cancels and that cancels. Equals 9. Okay, so let's continue with the algebraic one. Method 2. Solve algebraically. Check your work. Let's take a look at your hints over here. Remember to plug your solution back into the original equation to see if it makes a true statement. That's when you check it to make sure that your solution is correct. Now, method 2, we're going to solve algebraically. This is the best way to do it because everything is straightforward. Now, if you look at your situation here, you got 3 times x plus 5 equals 45. So we always rewrite the equation. Now, as you can see here, 3 is multiplying all this. So I know that we taught you so far to go ahead and undo any addition and subtraction first. But if these parentheses here take priority over the addition here. So this, you have to look at it as one big group. And this whole group is being multiplied times 3. So then you have to undo the grouping first. In this case, you got to get rid of this 3. So in this case, you have to do the division first instead of the addition. But remember, that's only because this whole thing is grouped together. So this is one whole thing. So you have to undo whatever's on the outside. So this means multiplication. That means you're going to divide on both sides by 3. And as you can see, once again, this 3 will cancel this 3. And the only thing left over is your x plus 5. So that's what comes down right here. Now 45 divided by 3 is 15, and you ended up with another brand new one-step equation. Now that one should be simple enough now. X is they're adding 5 to x, so the opposite would be to subtract 5 from both sides. Remember, this again becomes 0, then you bring down your x, and there it is. Bring down your equal sign. Now 15 minus 5 is 10, so x had to equal 10, just like we figured out with the model. All right, so it's very simple enough. If you take this whole thing as a one piece because of the parentheses, then all that is being multiplied by 3, so all you have to do is divide by 3 on both sides. Let's go ahead and check it on this side. So I'm going to rewrite the equation. Let's write check up here. 3 times x plus 5 equals 45. Now instead of putting x here, I'm going to substitute it with 10. So 3 times 10 plus 5 equals 45. Now you use your order of operations as you would forward, right? So PEMDAS says that you have to do anything in parentheses first. So now you got to do this first. 10 plus 5, that's 15. Right? 15 times 3, bring down your 45, bring down the equal sign. 3 times 15 is 45. Then you bring down your 45. So is 45 equal to 45? Yes, it is. Therefore, x is equal to 10 is the solution. Remember to pause the video if you don't understand something, so you can double check everything, how everything happened from step to step. Remember, the blue hints also tell you what is happening from one step to the other. So it's very important that you stop here and analyze. Let's go ahead and do example number 2. Actually, yes. Here we go. All right, so this one is another simple enough. You have your equation here. 5 times n minus 2 is equal to negative 30. It says represent the solution on a number line. Okay, so first we got to solve for n. So take a look at here. The first thing we got to do is we rewrite the equation. So here it is. I got 5 times n minus 2 is equal to negative 30. As you can see, this groups again, that takes priority over any addition or subtraction. So you have to take this as one whole piece. And you see that this whole group here is being multiplied by 5. So the first thing you got to get rid of is this 5. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide by 5. So 5 divided by 5, this cancels. And the only thing left over is your n minus 2, which is what comes down. Now, since you divided by 5 here, and you're divided by 5 over here, remember your integer rules. A negative number divided by a positive number will give you a negative number. Now you just have to do the numbers here. The number operation, 30 divided by 5 is 6. Therefore, n minus 2 equals negative 6. And you end up with a one-step equation now. Now, there's no more grouping. And in this case, you already know n is being subtracted by 2. So you have to undo that by adding 2 to both sides. Bring down your equal sign here so that you'll know that you're doing the same thing to both sides. Now you know that this goes to 0, and then you bring your n down. Bring down your equal sign. Now you do this operation. Negative 6 plus 2. Remember that negative 6 plus 2, you have to use your rules for addition. If the signs are different, you have to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So 6 minus 2 equals 4. Since we have more negatives than positives, your answer has to be negative. And that's how it gets to this point. So there, your solution is n equal to minus or negative 4. Let's go ahead and check it again. So let's check it right here. Make sure you do your notes correctly so everything is nice and clear. So we're going to put 5 times n minus 2 equals negative 30. Now, I'm just going to substitute my value of negative 4 in for n. 5 times negative 4 minus 2 equals negative 30. Now remember, any subtraction, you can write it as addition. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this part. Negative 4 is the same thing as adding a negative 2. So I'm going to put all that in parentheses so that you can see and everything stays clear. Now, when you have a negative plus another negative, that gives you more negatives. So when the sign is the same, you add them. 4 plus 2 is 6, and you keep the sign that they have. So that's negative 6 times 5 equals negative 30. Now you use your rules of integers. A positive number times a negative number will give you a negative number. Now 5 times 6 is 30. Is negative 30 equal to negative 30? Yes. The answer is yes. Therefore, n equals negative 4 is your solution. Okay? Now, how do you use this? Use a number line to represent the solution to the equation. Well, you take your solution and you plot that first. Let's see, there's negative 4, and then all you have to do is write some numbers to the left and write some numbers to the right. Right now it doesn't seem much important, but when we get into inequalities, this will play a big role. Notice that we only have 1 point, and 1 point is the only solution that this equation has. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and do the got it problems here. Make sure you use a different sheet of paper, or make sure you show me the work if you can do it in here. Show me the work and then show me the answers over here. Okay? So now I'm going to go to page 551. And we're going to do examples number 3. Okay? Well, this should look familiar once again. We look at our equation, we see that all this is together. Let me go with green on this one here too. Do you know that all this is together? So what you have to undo is whatever's on the outside. And in this case, you have a fraction, a rational number here. All right? Now this should look familiar, that if you need to get rid of a fraction, so we rewrite the problem, rewrite the equation here, yes? And then since this is together, what you need to get rid of is whatever's outside. So since this is being multiplied times 2/3, remember that to undo a fraction, you have to multiply it times its reciprocal. Remember that I told you to go ahead and put it in parentheses so that you'll know that you did exactly the same thing to both sides. And that also means multiplication. Now what happens here is that this cancels, and the only thing left over is n plus 6, and that's the only part that comes down. Now here, remember that to multiply fractions, you have to have two fractions. So you have to take the 10 and you have to put it over 1. Over 1. Now as you can see in this next section here, they tell you that the reciprocal of the fraction times its reciprocal will always give you the answer of 1. So if we put 10 over 1, we know that 10 and 2 are factors of each other. So 2 goes into 2 1 time, and 10 goes into 2 5 times. So there's nothing that we can simplify here because it's already simplified. Then you just remember, multiply straight across. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So 3 times 5, that equals 15. Over 1 times 1 equals 1. Now remember that 15 over 1 is just 15. So now you ended up with this equation. N plus 6 equals 15. And then from there is simple enough already. So since they're adding 6 to the variable, you have to subtract 6, but to both sides. This turns to 0. You bring down your n, and then 15 minus 6, well, that's just 9. So that is your solution. I'm going to go ahead and check it over here. Well, actually, they did the check for us already here. So if we got 2/3 times n plus 6 equals 10, then we're going to substitute this 9 in for n, and then we're going to do the order of operations as you usually do it, forward. So instead of n, we put 9. So now 9 plus 6, that's 15. And then 15 times 2, that's 30. 30 divided by 3 equals 10. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and break this part down over here. 2 times 3 times 9 plus 6, that was 15. So if this means multiplication, you put this over 1. And there you go. 2 times 5, 2 times 15 is 30. And 3 times 1 is 3. So 30 divided by 3, well, that's just 10. Is 10 equal to 10? Yes, it is. So we have a true sentence, a sentence that is true. That means that this is the solution. Right? And if you want to put that on the number line, it will look simply like this. We start with our main number here. So this would be 9. Put a big dot right there because that's your solution. And then add a couple numbers to the left. Well, that would be 8, 7, 6, and then above will be 10, 11. That's about it. Okay, let's go ahead and do number 4. All right, number 4 is no big deal. Okay, the only thing that you notice here, we still got some grouping here, c minus 3, but all this is being multiplied by 0.2 or 2/10. So basically what we need to do is get rid of this. Since this is multiplication, we have to undo it by doing division. So remember, rewrite your equation. Here it is. Since we know this is multiplication and this is a grouping, we got to get rid of this 0.2 first. So since it's multiplication by 0.2, then we're going to divide by 0.2 on both sides. Remember, the 0.2's cancel here, and the only thing left over is c minus 3. So everything's becoming pretty clear. Just remember your proper rules. Now, c minus 3 is equal to, well, we got negative 10 divided by 0.2. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rewrite all this over here so you can know what's going on. So I'm going to put the negative 10 on top, like that. And then I'm going to put this divided by 0.2. Now we know now that a negative number divided by a positive is going to give you a negative number. So then all you have to do is divide this now. So we got 10 divided by 0.2. Remember that the divisor cannot be a decimal. So you have to move the decimal to the right once, put your decimal here and move it over once. And then just fill this up with the 0, bring your decimal up. So now it looks pretty simple. We know that 2 goes into 10 5 times. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. Then we bring down this 0. Then you ask yourself again, 2 goes into 0, 0 times. So 0 times 2, that's 0. Remainder 0. So your answer is 50. Negative 10 divided by 0.2 is 50. So that's how it got to here, negative 50. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes, it does. So now we ended up with a brand new equation here. So c is being subtracted by 3, so we have to do the opposite, add 3 to both sides. This cancels, so it's the only thing that's left over is c. So negative 50 plus 3, that's another problem that you have, is negative 50 plus a 3. Since the signs are different, that means we have to subtract. 50 minus 3 is 47. Now, since we have more negatives than positives, we keep the absolute value of the negative 50, then your answer is negative 47. And that's how we got negative 47 here. So this is the solution. C is equal to negative 4.3. I'm not going to check this one, but as you can see, once again, to represent it on the number line, first you identify your main solution, right? And then put some numbers to the left that are smaller, some numbers to the right that are bigger. Okay? It looks like they did this, the check for us down here. So let's go ahead and double check this. You got C here. We know that the value is negative 47, so you have to do negative 47. A negative and a negative, that means you have to add them. So negative 7 minus 3, that's the same thing as negative 47 plus a negative 3. So that puts you at negative 50. So negative 50 times 0.2, let's go ahead and do it over here. 50 times 0.2, 2 times 2 is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 5 is 10. We got one decimal place here, so it's got to be here. So there's our 10. So we said that it's a negative times a positive is a negative, so this ended up being a negative 10. And there it is. So go ahead and make sure you pause the video, go back and analyze every step so you can understand what's happening from one point to the other. Now then, when you're done with that, go ahead and do your got it problems, and this is what I'm going to be checking. Make sure you show me the work instead of just putting the numbers up here. And here's your number lines so that you know where to plot your points. I'll go ahead and plot these points. Whatever your solution is going to be, it's going to be right there, here, and then all you have to do is add some numbers to the left and then add some numbers to the right. And that's about it. Okay, students, if you have any questions, come early. If you can't work it out, come early to class or come after school with Mr. Cardona, and we can get all this straightened out. It's really quite simple if you follow the steps. Good luck.